So now I guess we're all supposed to be in the streets chanting Obama, Obama, Obama. This is what we're supposed to be doing because he did what Bush couldn't do. He got it done. He is the wartime commander-in-chief who reluctantly assumed control of a war he never thought should have been started, and now he's going to sail to presidential re-election in 2012. There's so much missing from that. One, instead of saying he did what Bush couldn't do, maybe you ought to be saying he did what Clinton couldn't do. We had Osama bin Laden after the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. And it was Bill Clinton who said, I have nothing to charge him on. So before you start laying blame on George W. Bush for all of these things, we had him before. And maybe that was what was running through this president's mind. I don't want to be another Democrat thinking like a lawyer. But it's not like the president himself flew in on that Black Hawk. It's not like the president himself is a member of the Navy SEALs. It's not like the president himself took the shot. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. There's so much more than Obama got bin Laden. Oh, yeah, well, Obama got bin Laden. Now everybody's out in the streets. Well, there's probably two groups of people who are out in the streets right now chanting USA. One are people who are Obama supporters that are trying to make themselves the background footage for 2012. Meaning, it's magical to me that there were that many college kids with American flags in front of the White House seconds after the announcement was made. As if that doesn't sound a little bit, oh, I don't know, coordinated. That doesn't sound a little coordinated. Not conspiratorial. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories, but it sounds like there were people that were just on hand, ready to be there, chanting USA. The other group of people may be people who, are on a college campus or in a city like New York where you're not allowed to be patriotic. People are uncomfortable if you're a flag waving, fist pumping USA chanting American. But, on one of these days, it's screw you. I'm going to get out there. This is a moment. I don't care how upset you get. The other thing that's missing, the really big thing. Now, forgetting whether or not I support what took place, because of course I do. Shooting bin Laden in the face I think they were too good. They were too good to him. That's besides the point. I'm waiting for the first legal scholar. Because it's the legal scholars and all the geniuses and all the academics and all the intelligentsia of the Democratic Party. Oh, we couldn't have Guantanamo Bay. It was a violation of the Geneva Convention. The president doesn't have this authority or that authority. We're torturing people. We're making the situation worse. We're making a bad name for ourselves in the Muslim world. Yeah, where do you think all the information came from? Where do you think the trajectory of change in the thought process from Osama bin Laden is hiding in a cave to, oh, by the way, he's in a pretty posh mansion just a few hundred feet from the Pakistani military academy? Where do you think that came from? But if Bush had authorized this, the first thing would be, where do you get that authority? Oh, so now you're a political assassin? Remember, this mission wasn't to capture, it was to kill. But we're all supposed to look at our commander-in-chief with reverence and say, look, he did it. He's serious about national security. He did what Bush couldn't do. Whereas we know darn well, if this were Bush, Bush would be an assassin. Bush would be violating the Constitution. He would have gotten his blood from the water he spilled down the throats of those innocent goat herders that were taken off the battlefields. By the way, of all the announcements, last night again, what was really funny was watching a bunch of network news anchors who had no idea what the hell they were talking about, sitting there just trying to fill time. Well, of course, in a moment like this, we've got to applaud the decision making process and the heroism and you have no idea what the hell you're talking about, because the first reports were this was a bombing. Last night, the first reports were this was a bombing. Then somehow it became a raid. But there's the new media. And there's the new media. Now, the first words about this were actually on Twitter. But there was a group of people who got the announcement. We're going to skip past the new media into the new media. I want you to hear the new media, a figure of the new media making the announcement to a large crowd of people. Play clip 2.
I walk out here every night with hustle, loyalty, respect on my sleeve. That is a credo I have adopted from the men and women who defend the freedom of this country. The president has just announced that we have caught and compromised to a permanent end Osama.
That is John Cena speaking at a World Wrestling Entertainment show. John Cena came out to make that announcement to the crowd. So, for the purpose of that crowd who probably wasn't looking at their iPhones or their Android phones or checking their Twitter pages, their first piece of information about the death from Osama bin Laden came from John Cena of the WWE. You want to talk new media? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the new media. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen today. You want to know what's funny about what I do? Here's what's happening today. All of the liberals who subscribe to Sirius XM are all listening to the Patriot channel today. So just like the fake college kids in the streets with the American flags and the chanting the USA and out there, I saw one woman this morning with an American flag with Obama's face on it. I'm going to get nothing but telephone calls from people who are going to thump their chest at this and claim that I'm un-American, I've never served, this man did it, the last president was an idiot, you conservatives, you're chicken hawks, this is the end of the Tea Party, blah, 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 blah. Because on a day like this, this is where all of the liberals run to Sirius Patriot. What are they saying? What's going on there? I have to get in on this. I'm going to call up and I'm going to claim that I served and you didn't. And you're a coward and all your buddies in talk radio, you and Beck and Hannity and Church and Levin and blah, 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 blah. Of course, no matter what I say, I'm always dividing America. Now all of a sudden liberals want to claim the mantra of patriot. This is how the topsy-turvy world works. Now all of a sudden liberals are going to claim that they're the patriots. That they're the ones tough on the terrorists. They're the ones that support the military. It's kind of, and look, don't let your short-term memory get the best of you. Remember, all of a sudden in the Wisconsin protests, all the progressives were out there. The cops, the cops, the cops, the cops, the cops, the cops. Yeah, progressives and cops. There's a match made in heaven, because every time a cop has to draw his weapon, it's a progressive that defends him. Every time a cop has an arrest that goes down rough, it's a progressive that defends him. Every time the cops are accused of police brutality or racial profiling or institutional racism or whatever it is, it's progressives who come out to defend the cops. You know, those dues-paying union cops. So now all of a sudden, the American left is all out there, all pro-military and pro-security and pro-use of naval special forces to go into a country without their permission, by the way, and to shoot a man in the face. Now all of a sudden shooting somebody in the face is okay because it happened during Obama. That's amazing. It's consistent. It's intellectual. It makes perfect sense. It's taking thoughts to their logical conclusion. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. So I'm sure it's gonna be an interesting program today. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Let me start taking the calls. Dwight, Oklahoma, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes.
I'm listening to your show, and I know you've had 12 hours to think about what you're going to say and how you're going to open your show. And the first thing you open up the show with is, are we going to give President Obama more credit than we're going to give Bush? I mean, this is not who did what. It's about America, right?
But it's about America.
It's what your show promotes, right?
Yeah. So what is your point here?
My point is, are you dividing? Or
yes, I'm dividing. I sit down every day and go,
I'm asking a question.
Yeah, I love polarization.
So is that what you're doing today?
Yes, that's what I'm doing today.
Okay.
You happy?
Absolutely not with that.
Well, you got me to say it. That's what you wanted me to say.
No, I'm just saying.
You wanted me to try to defend what I was doing without actually saying I was doing it. So here I am, willingly and purposely polarizing. That's what I'm doing.
Answer the question. How did you open your show today?
You heard me open the show. What do you want me to repeat it?
Say it again, though.
I'm not going to play it again, sir. I'm not going to play it again.
Say it again.
Why do I have to say it again?
So everybody can hear what you said.
They heard me say it the first time.
No, we want you to reiterate. Are you dividing or are you uniting?
I'm dividing. I'm dividing. Yeah, you heard me say it. I'm dividing. There you go. Thank you very much for the call. I'm dividing. Jim, Philadelphia, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Good morning, Andrew. Who peed in your Cheerios this morning?
Nobody.
I'll tell you what. Oh, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
No, I woke up on the right side of the bed.
Andrew,
I wake up on the right side of the bed every morning.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Listen, first of all, whether it was, the same thing happened when Ronald Reagan saved those people over there in the Middle East also, so let's stop and think about it. What's best for the country. And by the way, do you have a little black mustache under your nose? I'm wondering.
So now I'm Hitler?
Did you shave?
So now I'm Hitler. That's your thing. Now I'm Hitler.
No, I didn't say that. I just asked you a question. Now you can determine whatever you want to think there, Andrew. I just asked you something about did you have a little black thing under your nose? Now you can determine whatever you want to think. Just as a lot of people are determining the way that you feel about the American country right now, whether whoever.
Wow, for 8 straight years we were. I mean, this is amazing stuff. This is good stuff because none of these callers said any of this stuff during the Bush years when the president was getting. I'm not trashing the president here. I'm just not going to act like he invented this.
Well, no, I don't think everybody is. The job was done. And you know what? It's very reassuring knowing that we do have somebody that's, do you know how long it took to get this job done?
10 years, yeah.
10 years. No, it took about 4 years to figure out exactly what was taking place and where he was at. Now, I think the man in office, who may have ever been, whether it was Obama or, or your dear friend, because I don't even like saying his name, because after 8 years of his administration, I'll tell you right now, I don't know what would have happened in the country any longer if we had somebody like that in office.
Okay.
And you stop.
So now all of a sudden you're a proud chest pounding American, right? Now all of a sudden, is this the first time you're proud of your country? Is that what this is?
Republican. I voted for Bush, and I regret every bit of it.
Okay.
You know that? And I'll tell you right now. And after the 8 years of the Cheney and the Bush administration, I'll tell you what, this was something better that the American people could look forward to.
So if George W. Bush had sent in a special operations force without telling the Pakistanis, without any clear constitutional way to do this, you'd have been all right to do this.
He sent a lot of young men over there.
Okay, you're missing the point. Thank you very much for the call. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. Let's see. Who do we have here? Debbie, Georgia, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Hi. I actually don't have a question. This is the first time I've ever heard you. I'm not a liberal, but I've decided that it is shameful the way you're talking to Americans and your.
It's shameful that how I'm talking to Americans. What do you mean how I'm talking to Americans?
I think that you have this vitriolic
What vitriol?
dialogue. You're being rude.
I'm being rude to
maybe
who?
That's you. I've never listened to you before, but
Who am I being rude to, Debbie? Don't give me this pseudo intellectual psychobabble. Who am I being rude to?
Well, you're being rude to me, number one.
No,
now.
I'm not being rude to you.
Your callers.
You've listened to this program for a total of 5 minutes, and you've got me pegged. And you're calling up to tell me that I'm rude, and I'm this, and I'm that.
So far, the 5 minutes I've listened have been rude. But let me ask a question. I don't agree with you on one subject. I do think that if Bush had been successful, I don't think people would have been pounding their chest saying it wasn't right. I think everyone would have been glad that he found Osama bin Laden and that it would have been okay to shoot him, as you're saying. You're trying to say that, or you are saying that people would not have accepted that of him. I think they absolutely would have accepted that of them, especially if they lost loved ones in 9/11. The Americans wanted that solution.
Well, maybe Obama's fortunate that he didn't have newspapers like the New York Times publicizing the kind of cell phone that Osama bin Laden was using, and then he changed his cell phone and we lost the trail. Maybe it was nice that we have a media that wasn't doing everything in its power to harm the administration while they were on the hunt for terror. Maybe that's the luck of Obama. That he's a president that the media is comfortable with, so they're not trying to undermine him.
Perhaps that's true. I do think that because there's so much hatred, so much hate speak, and so much yelling back and forth in the media, I think a lot of things have changed. Maybe that kind of urges people to defend more Osama than they did Bush. I think things have gotten a lot worse in the media as far as say a lie, perpetuate the lie. I really do.
Now,
anyway,
let's before I let you go, and I got to take a break. Hate speech and perpetuating lies. What hate speech are you hearing?
I just think that a lot of media take a tone, depending on what side they're on. That doesn't even matter. I think there's just a lot of hateful talk.
Like what?
You're guilty of hateful talk and saying that Americans, now you're going to have a lot of liberals listening to your station, and that now Americans would have gone against Bush.
So let's stop that. Let's stop that thought right there. That's your definition of hate speech.
Probably not. Probably that's a little strong, and I can't think of an example right now to tell you the truth.
Okay, so you've never heard me on the air, but you've already accused me of hate speech. You've already portrayed me as all that is evil and wrong and soulless, and you've never heard this program before. And that's the way smart people add these things up.
I did not accuse you of hate speech. I accused you of being rude to your listeners.
Because I host this program every day, and I watch the news cycle every day, and I know based on the news cycle, as the host of this program, the spike in callers who are coming from an opposite mindset of mine, I can see it a mile away. Today is one of those days where I know that I'm going to be inundated with phone callers of people on the left and in the Democratic Party who are going to call up and try to make this president into something that I don't think that he is. Thank you very much for the call. That's not hate speech. That's me understanding the trends of the news. That's me understanding this program. That's me understanding who calls this program, why, and when. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. We're right. They're wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments cannot be broken. Sirius XM Patriot. Our good friend Terry Shepard, host of Warriors on the History Channel and member of U.S. Special Forces, Green Berets, will be joining us in the program in the next segment to discuss the logistics of all of this, what it means to carry out this kind of a mission, what these missions and these raids are like. And we're gonna talk. Actually spent the weekend hanging out with Shepard, so it was just a phone call. Hey dude, can you come on the program on today and talk about this? 1-866-95-PATRIOT. I'm sorry. If people are getting upset at me, then it's obviously people who are only listening to the program today, which is fine. Welcome to the program. Am I happy that bin Laden is dead? Of course I'm happy bin Laden is dead. Am I happy he was shot in the face? I think that was too good for him. But I see more here than just the headline of, yeah, Obama got bin Laden. We had our first chance at bin Laden during the Clinton years. And it was Bill Clinton. It's funny, Politico has a story where they, the chopper that they actually used to land on the compound stalled, and they had to blow it up. Let me give you a quote here. The helicopter carrying Navy SEALs malfunctioned as it approached Osama bin Laden's compound around 3:30 p.m. on Sunday, stalling as it hovered. The pilot set it down gently inside the walls. They couldn't get it going again. It was a heart-stopping moment for President Barack Obama, who'd been monitoring the raid on the White House Situation Room since 1 p.m., surrounded by members of his war cabinet. Quote, obviously, everyone was thinking about Black Hawk Down and Desert One, a senior administration official had recalled. The SEALs disembarked. The assault team went ahead and raided the compound, even though they didn't know if they would have a ride home, the official said. The special forces put bombs on the crippled chopper, blew it up, then lifted off in a reinforcement craft just before 4:15 p.m., capping an astounding 40 minutes that gave the United States a tectonic victory in the 10-year war on terror touched off by 9/11. So here you have this Black Hawk Down moment. The Black Hawk Down moment happened during the Clinton administration. Again, Bill Clinton had the chance to get Osama bin Laden and said he didn't have anything to charge him with. The planning that went into Black Hawk Down, the Black Hawk Down incident, took place during the Clinton years. So when you hear the phrase Black Hawk Down moment, you could thank Bill Clinton for that, where we lost Army Rangers. 1-866-95-PATRIOT, 1-866-95-PATRIOT. The oddest thing here is how Leon Panetta, who has no, you just have to look at these guys and you have to look at our military and you have to say, barring all of the hacks and bureaucrats and people in government, we have to be so thankful that our military leadership is the best in the world. And our military members are the best in the world. And that thankfully they're able to somehow get the best equipment in the world. Because if you left it to political hacks to actually make these plans where their first thought is to cover their own rear ends or to get themselves reelected or somehow to get that staff job or that appointment, I can only imagine what the hell would. You would have a Black Hawk Down incident every 5 minutes. I'm not going to give the president credit for this. I give the credit where the credit is due. These Navy SEALs that actually did the job. The people that actually planned it out. The people that actually provided the logistics and got the information. You know, those awful, awful, awful people at Guantanamo Bay. Those really horrible people that actually did the really unpopular thing of getting the information. When people like the President of the United States, as a progressive senator from Illinois, was horrified at how we were getting information. Nancy Pelosi hung the CIA out to dry. I didn't know they were doing this. Yes, you did. You were in the briefing. We politicized the CIA. We've politicized the military. When it was politically popular, we were against Guantanamo Bay. Now that it's politically popular to use what was gotten in Guantanamo Bay, we forget where that information came from. All of a sudden, the media is lauding this president. Do you remember the very same media that couldn't wait to tell you what kind of cell phone Osama bin Laden was using? That's where we lost the trail. Do you remember the press conference with George Bush? He was so frustrated by this. How many times did the LA Times or the New York Times decide amongst itself that the information that they got their hands on some way, somehow, that wasn't really classified? Really? 1-866-95-PATRIOT. I guess we're lucky now that since the media approves of this president, they aren't going to do every single thing that they can to undermine him. Leaking this, reporting that. The question now is, are we going to see a photo of the corpse? Well, gee, was that... Remember the debate over whether or not to show dead troops coming home? Oh, the people... This is newsworthy. We've got to report this. Oh, our hands are tied. Ethics of journalism require that when these dead soldiers come to Andrews Air Force Base, that we get a picture of the caskets. The families be damned. Now all of a sudden do we? Don't we? Do we? I don't know. What's the best way to protect Obama here? 1-866-95-PATRIOT. Let's see. Ben, California. You're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello. Ben. Going once. Going twice. Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Travis in Arizona. Sorry.
It says Ben in California. Travis, go ahead.
Andrew, I'm a big fan of yours. I try to listen to you every day. Hey, I just wanted to point out, man, I think it's hilarious how this administration is going to try to use this for, their gain. I think it's, armed services have been trying to do this thing for 10 years. They get the credit, not Obama and his administration.
There's a video production company right now already making those 2012 re-election spots with bin Laden in them. You know it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd be surprised if it don't come out tomorrow.
It's gonna be the president got health care and he got bin Laden.
Yep, that's it. He's been planning this for the last 10 years,
Thank you very much for the call. Let's see. Bill, Texas, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Hello. So, in response to the last caller, do you think that Bush's mission accomplished moment wouldn't have been used in his re-election campaign? I mean, what do you think that was all about?
But Bush himself and Bush's supporters, this is not something that they were seemingly uncomfortable with. The progressive movement seems to be uncomfortable with this sort of chest pumping, pro-military, mission accomplished. We shot him in the face. America.
So the fact that Bush spent untold amounts of taxpayer money in order to create the centerpiece, the fact that he's comfortable with it makes it okay. The whole stuffed cod piece, strutting around on the deck of the Abe Lincoln, that's okay because he was comfortable with it.
No, that's not what I said. I said when you have a president who seems to, well, yeah, I guess you could say that.
That's
okay,
exactly
so
what you said, that it's okay because he's comfortable.
It's not a matter of okay. It's a matter of politicizing it and saying that, well, now I'm taking credit for something that I thought was beneath just the other day.
Well, if the mission had actually been accomplished, it would have been okay. And
So again, let's go back. Let's go through the whole timeline of this. What you're saying is also that Bill Clinton's a failure then. Bill Clinton failed to get. He had bin Laden in it. He had him. He had him right there in the Sudan. I don't have anything to charge him with. Well, what did we charge him with today? What was he charged with today, sir?
He hadn't committed the attack.
Yeah, he had. It was called the 93 World Trade Center bombing, sir.
What's that?
Okay, thank you very much for the call. You have a nice day. Let's see. Guy, Washington State, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Andrew, man, I love it. I listen to you every day, and you are right on the money today. That is a for sure thing. 100% he's going to try taking advantage of this situation, and he deserves no credit for getting bin Laden, not one bit.
There are a team of analysts right now saying to themselves, okay, this is the end of the Tea Party here. The Tea Party's out of steam now because the president has really cut his teeth and gotten his national security credentials here. So now we've gotten rid of the Tea Party. Okay, we might have been uncomfortable with Guantanamo Bay, but we used what came out of Guantanamo Bay, but no one's going to remember that part. What they're going to remember is that he got bin Laden. So this is the president that got bin Laden. And all these idiots with the Gadsden flags and the NRA hats, they can all shove it in the next election. We got bin Laden. Bush didn't do it. We did it. This is what it means to be a real president. I can see it now.
Oh, 100%. It just makes me sick even thinking about it.
Well, thank you very much for the call. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. Leon, Iowa, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Yeah, every time I pay my XM bill, I'm so excited because I want to meet the president of XM seriously.
Yeah. So, what's your point?
I'm saying you're totally out of line today. 93 World Trade Center bombing. There is people in jail. That was done by a cleric. That wasn't done by bin Laden.
Yeah. So why was Bill Clinton going out and giving interviews? Well, I don't have anything to charge him with.
Clinton didn't have.
Okay. So this is again. So I'm out of line today.
You got to do it legal, don't you understand?
Yeah, we did it. Tell me how the legality of this one worked.
You're all about the hate.
Yeah, it's all about the hate.
You and Mike Church and David Webb, you're so damn ignorant.
So damn ignorant. Okay, well, why don't you educate me here, sir?
You are ignorant.
Well, why did you educate us?
You don't know crap.
I don't know crap. Why don't you? Okay.
Why don't you just go?
So ignorant. So really smart people, Leon. Really smart people call into radio shows about inserting radios in people's rectums and cursing, and that's what really smart people do, right?
Hey.
Yeah.
You're lucky we're not in person.
Okay.
Because I would love to go to jail.
That's what really smart people. So now you're threatening me with violence because you're the really smart person and I'm the really stupid person.
Because you're a prick.
Okay. You have a nice day, Leon. You have a nice day. This is what really smart people do. Well, if I was in the room with you, that's what really smart people do. I knew this. I knew this morning. That as soon as I got on the air, every single whacked out liberal that has a Sirius or XM radio would be tuning into Sirius Patriot. I knew it. And now I'm getting it. All right, 1-866-95-PATRIOT, and I enjoy it. Bring all of your hate, bring all of your animosity, bring all of your stupid, nonsensical crap and dump it on me. Our friend Terry Schappert will be joining us in the next segment. I'm sure he'll be able to shed some light on just what goes into one of these raids, being that he is a Green Beret, host of Warriors on the History Channel, and branching out into Shark Week on the Discovery Channel. We're right, they're wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments cannot be broken. Sirius XM Patriot. Wilkow majority. All right, we are waiting for our friend Terry Schappert to call on the program and give us some perspective. Now, I know a lot of guys that listen to this program have served in the military. I know this. And I openly admit I have never served in the military. But when you talk to guys that are in these units that carry out clandestine operations, it's a world that very few of us know about. When you start talking about Force Reconnaissance Marines and Army Green Berets and Navy SEALs, I mean, this is a world that most people really kind of don't have any real understanding of. And it's you know, it is what it is. Joining us on the program right now, I don't have to give you a formal introduction, do I?
I don't know. Do you? Yeah, maybe. No one knows who I am, dude.
Yeah, they do. All right, Terry Schappert, Army Green Beret, host of Warriors on the History Channel and Shark Week on the Discovery. But I don't want to make your time with Shark Week sound cartoonish up against your military resume.
Well, yeah, actually, it's pretty funny. For some reasons, a lot of people kind of know me as the Shark Week dude. I was like, I did 1 hour show. By the way, I got to get this in before we continue, just so your listeners and some of the fun ones you've been talking to in the last 20 minutes. We went shooting this weekend. I don't know if you had a chance to mention this yet, Andrew.
I was not going to mention it, but go ahead.
I'm going to mention it because all you guys listening, me, Andrew Wilkow, and one of his best friends that he grew up with, we all went shooting. We did that whole redneck thing. Andrew cooked for us. By the way, Andrew Wilkow's a good cook. And we went to the range, and I will say this. Wilkow can shoot some guns. That's all I'm going to say. I just want people to know that.
You know what's funny about range officers and gun store owners and gun store workers? They're impressed by nothing. I mean, Samuel Colt can come back from the dead with the first Peacemaker, and they'd be like, nice pea shooter, now keep it down range. Nothing impresses them. They put Terry through this 15-minute safety course, and at the end of it, the guy says, so you spend any time in the military? To which he replies, yes, and finally explains that he's a Green Beret. Now all the range guys are all hovering over us, watching what he's doing, watching the way they were geeking out for you.
But you're right, though. It's pretty funny, man.
I think you made him nervous with that little weird bounce thing you do just before you start shooting. I noticed that. The first time you did that, the guy got a little nervous. He's like, hey, what's he doing? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's right. And I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was just doing what I do, which is after I shoot a couple of double taps, I kind of bring the pistol in close to my body and then rail it back out. And I think the dude was like, he goes, what are you doing? I go, well, I'm not trying to be difficult. I just do that. So I actually didn't do that. But you're right. They were pretty much all about crushing anybody's ego that comes in that door. We were you and I were looking at each other because the woman's like, IDs. I mean, all business. Nothing. She was like all business. Couldn't care. Like you said, we could have invented some kind of gun and then have been like, yeah, that's great. Give me your ID.
I could have been like, this is Smith. I'm Wesson. We're here to shoot. Okay, let's see your IDs.
Yeah, that's great, dude. Let me see your ID. I'm not impressed at all. But that was fun, man. I wanted to thank you. It was a great weekend, and that was as good as it gets, man. That was fun.
Let's do some business here. This is, this is the stuff that most of us either read about in novels or see in action movies. This is not the stuff that most Americans have a working knowledge of. And this, what I'm talking about, is these special operations units, the things that they do, the way they carry out these missions, the planning that goes in. When you heard about this, I'm sure your phone started going off. You started sending emails, checking with friends. What is your insider view of this?
Well, first thing too, and this is going to sound terrible because I'm obviously friends with all sorts of Green Berets and Rangers and also SEALs. And as soon as I found out this morning that it was the Navy SEALs who did it, I was like, damn it, those glory dogs. But you know what? I'm just kidding. I mean, we're obviously though, because everybody, when you do what we do, wants to be those guys who get to do that. So you're I'm so totally happy for them. But again, we everybody wants to do that. But yeah, with regard to that operation, I tell people too, being a Green Beret or being a SEAL or anything really, even though they make a big deal out of it, there's nothing really particularly sexy about a lot of it. It's just a lot of, and you said this, a lot of hard work and a lot of planning. I mean, I haven't got any details yet because I've been kind of running around. I'm on my way into the city too, but I'm sure they got They got lots of intel. This has been going on for a while. They isolated a team. This is what happens too. They isolate whoever is going to do this mission. They basically put them in a compound. You're by yourself. They bring you food. They bring you constant intelligence stuff, and you formulate the plan. They also, I'm pretty darn sure, they probably did a very, very realistic mock-up of that compound, and they just kept hitting it over and over and over again. And, I tell people, too, the sexiest, most, complicated, cool plan is not going to work unless you rehearse it to death. A very simple, maybe even flawed plan that is religiously and just constantly rehearsed has a very, very good chance of success. So the more simple the plan is, even for the special ops guys, the better chance you have of stuff. And look what happened. They lost one of the birds. The helicopter had to go down. And so, again, by having 4 helicopters, they were able to cross-load the guys and get them out. If you put that whole force on one helicopter, you're pretty much rolling the dice on that one bird. So it sounds like I can't wait to hear all the details of the op and how it all went down.
Here's a question, just from an armchair civilian perspective. This compound had 18-foot high cement walls. It was down the block, apparently, from the Pakistani equivalent of West Point, which is, I'm sure, somebody's got some splaining to do. How Bin Laden was living so comfortably. But right. When they said the decision was between a Predator drone strike and using special forces. I just look at this is a residential neighborhood, but with 18-foot high walls, does that mean that the decision could say, somebody could say, look, we can go live fire inside this thing and the bullets aren't going to get out and possibly kill anybody who is an innocent. If we hit this thing with a Predator drone, that's a lot of cement. It's better just to come in from the sky, drop right in, do the shooting on the inside, and then lift out, rather than try to topple this whole complex, because whatever we're going to have to use to topple it, there's going to be collateral damage. Am I kind of in the ballpark on that?
No, man. You have that exactly correct. With regard to the tactical view of that, a Predator drone, as good as it is, as high speed as a Predator drone is, it cannot take the place of a dude who's really well trained with a gun, and just like we were shooting this weekend with that little red dot sight, put that right on his forehead. It's better. I mean, again, I don't know. I have no details of the operation. Did they actually, maybe drop off in corners? And I'm sure they had to seal off that objective so that nobody could come in or out. Did they? I don't know if they breached the wall, breached the gate, or if they actually maybe even, I don't know, maybe they fast roped right on top. But so there's different ways of doing that. And, the three principles of any hit are surprise, speed, and violence of action. And, of course, that's the big thing. If you lose one of those, or one of those gets decreased, you've got to pick up the slack in the other, which is like, so if you lose some surprise, you better pick up the speed, and you better have even more violence. Do you know what I mean? So however they did the plan, you want to balance all those things and just get to the point where, like, these guys wake up, and then you're in their face with a gun. So nothing replaces a really well-trained guy with a weapon. Predator drones are great, but you're right. You're totally right tactically. It's not as good as being able to put a team right on top of those guys, and that's it. Plus, especially for such a high-value target as Osama. I mean, you want to make sure you get him. You know what I mean?
And politically speaking, the last thing, I mean, if we were going to do this without the permission of Pakistan, or at least maybe just a limited number of people knowing, right, and obviously general society not knowing, including large portions of the government, a Predator drone strike in an affluent neighborhood where you had to hit it so hard to knock down this, I mean, this compound was made out of concrete from what I'm reading. The possibility of harming people that have nothing to do with this, but may also have influence in government and society, I mean, it could have been tragic.
Well, and the thing is, too, I mean, we're always worried about, we, meaning the government, our political ramifications. Yeah, I think I like the way you said Pakistan. I mean, no one should be surprised. Pakistan has some explaining to do with the fact that this guy was living there for quite some time, apparently rather high on the hog. And, yeah, could you imagine if the drone had messed up or went the wrong way? Next thing you know, the huge story. Nothing beats putting a dude on there with a gun, knowing who he's going after.
Now, this is some amazing stuff. And again, most of us either play video games, there's a whole legion of guys out there who, with the gaming consoles, and of course we can read books, and see action movies. But this is, most of us don't know someone like you who, and I don't need you to talk about this on the air, who's actually trained for this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, this is kind of, for what it's worth, I mean, this is what those guys did yesterday is pretty much what we live for. I mean, and I don't mean that in we like to kill people, but we train so hard and for so long and so intensely that we need to be able to, in some capacity, be tested and to know that, that training works. And what we do does make us the absolute best. So remember at the range, too, when we were shooting, that one kid was asking me about, hey, man, do you play Call of Duty? I started laughing. I was like, no, I never really have played Call of Duty. So, yeah, but it's you don't have to be a military guy to understand, what that would possibly feel like and what that means to do that. Those guys, man, I tell you what, think about, Andrew, the guy who actually dropped them, the guy who actually had the bead on his head and probably said something like, get down, or, he gave him some kind of command in Arabic, and when he didn't, he just cracked him. That guy's going to be a legend in my community, All those guys are. Everybody on that hit is going to be, they're done. Their career is paid for the rest of their time.
Wow, that's some. I know you got to get on a train. Fun this weekend. Glad you could chime in on this today. When we get some more details, maybe we'll have you back tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, man. Listen. I can talk to you anytime and about this, because you and I we see eye to eye on this, and just for your audience too. I really appreciate the weekend. That was about as fun as it gets. And
I'm a fun guy. People have this this image. I don't know where it comes from, but I like to cook. I like to hang out. I make a pretty good to go biscuits and gravy.
That was probably one of the best breakfasts I've ever had. I was like, if you were a chick, I actually might consider,
Yeah, let's not go there. Just because you had a ribeye with peppers and eggs and biscuits and gravy and fresh coffee in the morning is not. There's nothing romantic about that.
I don't want to reach too far. You're right. It's inappropriate. But, you're right. People have this image of Wilkow as like this kind of like totally serious, like, blah, blah, blah. No, you're actually probably one of the funnest dudes I've hung out with.
Half the audience today are people that have never heard the program and are thinking I'm just some sort of, I'm degrading this and I'm anti-American that, I'm dividing the country and I'm already, I could see half the calls today are people who've never heard the program before. But it's fine. It's fine.
Well, I heard. I was getting ready. I was listening to you, and I heard a couple of these callers come in, and they even admit, yeah, I've never listened to you before, but you're spouting hate speech. And again, you just, without being a jerk, you just basically can dismantle an argument. No, I'm not. Show me where I am. You're not. It's not hate speech. And you're right. Listen, if President Obama has to, and I do think, if he has to own the economy, which he does, he's been president for a couple of years, he gets to take credit for this, but the American left does not. He does, the American left does not.
That's an even better perspective. That's what I was trying to get earlier, is that a lot of these people who are now calling up and thumping their chests at me, pounding their chest, it's like, wait a second, this president might have given the final order, but let's be honest, this is something that he ran against, that his supporters are totally against. He gave speeches about unilateral authority not being held by the previous administration. It is what it is.
Yeah, listen, as the president, he absolutely did the right thing. He did the right thing. That's what presidents do. They go and they kick the crap out of the people who are enemies. But the left, I think it is really hypocritical of the left to try to come on and, well, yeah, this is what we did. Where were you? Where have you been for the last 8 years?
Yeah, you didn't seem this upset when the New York Times was giving out information, and we had newscasters who acted like it was their duty to undermine Bush. Listen, Terry, I got to let you go. Get on the train, come in the city. We'll see you a little bit later. 1-866-95-PATRIOT, 1-866-95-PATRIOT. This is the next generation of great talk radio. We're right, they're wrong. That's the end of the story. WilkowMajority.com, SiriusXM Patriot.